You know, we tend to think of reptiles as these silent, solitary creatures, right? But what if I told you there's a whole secret world of sound happening all around us? A world that could seriously rewrite a major chapter of evolutionary history. Well, today, we're going to tune in to the incredible and surprisingly noisy lives of reptiles.
So, let me just start by asking you a question. What does a turtle sound like? Seriously, take a second. What about a lizard? Or a tuatara? If you're coming up empty, don't worry, you're definitely not alone.
Because for the longest time, the official scientific answer was basically nothing. Reptiles were seen as the quiet ones in the animal kingdom. The assumption was they communicated with signals we could see, or maybe smell, but definitely not hear.
And that really brings us to our first big idea here, which is what I like to call the myth of silent reptiles.
And this quote from the source material really nails why that myth was so strong. For years and years, researchers were focused on, and I'm quoting here, visual, tactile, and chemical modalities, which is just a scientific way of saying they were looking at body language, touch, and scent. Sound? It just wasn't really on the radar.
But, oh boy, is that all changing. And this is where the story gets really, really interesting, because we're about to uncover a hidden world of sound. It turns out that silence was never really silence at all. We just weren't listening properly. A whole wave of new research with brand new technology is now pulling back the curtain on this vast, complex, acoustic world we barely knew existed.
And we're not just talking about one or two species here. No way. Scientists are finding solid evidence of vocal communication across all four of the major living reptile groups. That's right, all four of them.
And this table just lays it all out perfectly. I mean, look at this. Crocodilians? Okay, we kind of knew they were chatty. But turtles? Check. Squamates? That's your lizards and snakes? Check. And even the super ancient tuataras? Yup, check. This isn't some rare exception. It seems to be a fundamental part of what it means to be a reptile. Okay, so if they're all talking, the next big question has to be, why? What are they even saying? This brings us to the reasons behind all this reptile talk. And believe me, these aren't just random noises. These sounds serve really important social functions that probably sound pretty familiar. They're using their voices to find a mate, to take care of their babies, and to defend their turf. And the complexity here is just wild. We're talking about specific courtship calls designed to woo a partner. We're seeing actual conversations between parents and their babies, helping guide and protect the little hatchlings. They're shouting warnings at rivals and sending out distress calls when they're in trouble. This paints a picture of a social life that is so much richer than we ever gave them credit for. So how in the world are they pulling this off? Let's dive into the biology a little bit, into the nuts and bolts of how they're making and hearing these sounds.
To get this, we have to look at their auditory anatomy. Now that's a bit of a mouthful, but all it means is the biological toolkit an animal has to make and hear sounds. And let me tell you, in reptiles, that toolkit is incredibly diverse.
The research shows this amazing variety in how they're built to make sounds. But the way some of them hear those sounds, that's where things get really mind-bending.
Okay, get ready for this. Some species, like certain snakes, don't have ears or eardrums like we do. Instead, they've evolved these special receivers to pick up airborne sounds that are made, get this, entirely of bone. It's connected right to their jaw. It's a completely different and, frankly, brilliant way to solve the problem of hearing.
Now all of this is way more than just a collection of cool animal facts. Understanding how reptiles communicate with sound is actually helping us unlock some massive evolutionary secrets.
This slide really puts it all into perspective. You see, for decades, we've studied vocal communication in birds and mammals like crazy. But reptiles, who are their close cousins, were just this huge blank space in our knowledge. They are the missing link we need to truly understand how vocalization started and evolved in all amniotes. That's the big group that includes us, birds, and reptiles.
So, to wrap it all up, studying these reptile sounds isn't really just about reptiles. It's allowing scientists to finally connect the dots, to fill in a giant, gaping hole in the story of how and why animals, and that includes us humans, ever started communicating with sound to begin with. Which brings us right back to that first question I asked.
If even turtles, these creatures we thought were the definition of silent, are actually talking to their babies before they even hatch,
Well, what does that tell us about the possible sounds of their ancient relatives? Think about it for a second. What did the world of the dinosaurs actually sound like? Thanks to this incredible new research, we have a fascinating new window into that lost world.